It's kind of dead.
Okay, we'll open the meeting up. Can we please rise to the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need a quick motion to appoint Jen as our clerk pro temp. Motion by Ed, second by Tom. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Tonight we have a public hearing for the district-wide safety plan. And we'll let the board know if there's any updates and answer any questions the community or board may have regarding the district-wide safety plan for the 2025-2026 school year.
So just a point of information, by law, the safety plan needs to be posted on the website for 30 days for a comment period. So we made sure that that was done so that it ended just before this board meeting. There needs to be an email for any comments or concerns. We have not received any, so unless there are any tonight, the plan has not changed all that much. The only addition to this year's plan is the heat policy, which the board is going to take a look at this evening and get that into existence. As soon as this is adopted, this will go up on our website as a finalized plan, and it will be submitted to the state in the New York State Education Portal first thing tomorrow morning, assuming that it passes this evening's vote.
Anyone in the audience or the board have any questions or concerns?
No.
Okay, since there's no questions or concerns, we'll close the public hearing and we'll move to adopt the district-wide safety plan. So can I have a motion? Motion by Mike, seconded by Janine. Be it resolved, the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the 2025-2026 district-wide emergency response plan as presented to the board during today's public hearing. Got a motion by Mike, seconded by Janine. Any questions or concerns?
No, except to say, you know, safety is always being reviewed. The buildings have safety committees, and
That's a good point. This is the public plan. Each of our buildings has a more specific plan that cannot be made public.
Right, and we always encourage, if parents have questions about the safety in the building, please contact your building principal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Public comments. We'll open the meeting up to public comments. First, front end of the public comments for agenda items only. So if anyone has any comments regarding the agenda, please state your name and ask your question. Okay, we'll close public comment and we'll move to our consent items. Tonight it'll be F.8.1 to C.4. Hopefully everyone had an opportunity to review. If you have any questions, if you want to pull any particular agenda item out, we can and vote on it separately, or if you want to table it. Anyone have any comments or concerns regarding the agenda items, consent items?
Yeah. Number 4, under hiring probationary. Is that the same person twice?
It's two different jobs.
Two different jobs?
So one is as the school courier and one is as a bus driver. The position is actually for courier is called school driver / messenger as civil service. So that's why it's listed twice.
Should be a nice full day too.
Anybody else?
So I just want to be clear on the breadth of the consent. What is that? Where does that end, the consent agenda?
C.4. It would be the
Change orders.
change orders for
Including
the
those
allowance
things. All right,
disbursements.
fair enough. Yep. I'm good.
Okay, I'll back up a bit and ask for a motion. I have a motion to move the consent. Motion by Ed, second by Mike. With no further comment, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Superintendent's up.
Okay, so if you've been on property, you'll notice that our capital project is moving along at a fast pace. Very short summer, and all of our buildings have something going on. We're hoping all of this work will be wrapped up in the next couple of weeks so that cleanup can happen and schools will open without any incident. There is, if you've been following, there is an issue on our track that the construction company is here and rectifying that as we, well, not as we speak right now. They were here about an hour ago finishing up for the day, and that is expected to be done within the next couple of weeks. And the air conditioning is moving along in all of the large areas in our buildings, with that expectation of that being ready for opening. Elementary school class placement letters went out, so I thank the elementary school. That I know that is a big feat to get that out by as early as possible. Parents want to know their child's teacher, they want to know the supply lists, all those things, and that's always a big undertaking. So kudos to that school for getting all that information out. Just some upcoming dates: Big Blue football kickoff barbecue fundraisers going to be on August 15th from 5 to 7 at Highland High School. JV and varsity sports start on the 18th. PTA meetings are going to start up already on the 19th. We have the middle school PTA, and then we have some orientations scheduled for the end of August. We have the 25th, 6th grade orientation and schedule pickup at the middle school between 5 and 7. On the 26th, again at the middle school for 7th and 8th grade schedule pickup between 5 and 7, and 9th grade orientation is scheduled for August 28th from 4 to 6 p.m. And then school starts the following week. We have just a couple of superintendent's conference days, kindergarten orientation, and then we kick right in with our calendar. So the administrators have been working all summer trying to get the calendar as firmed up as possible. We have a couple more dates we want to firm up, and then I'll start including those in the Friday updates so board members have like a month and a half look ahead. I think that's something I added a couple of years ago, and it's always something that you can look to if you want to become involved in any of the things in any of our buildings. So that's that. And then the rest of this week, I will be joining the rest of the Ulster County school superintendents at a meeting upstate. One of the days is dedicated to things going on in the state education department. So that's we're looking forward to hopefully some information that we can bring back and start moving forward with the new initiatives at the state education department. We're meeting with them pretty much all day Thursday, and so that's always it's a fast and furious couple of days. So I'm hoping we get some good information, and that's all I have, other than summer is already gone. And just thanks to our crews for all that they do. They're working their tails off to make sure everything is up and running, and the place, other than the construction areas, already look like ready to open. So we're very fortunate. Any questions? We are down. Sorry.
That's all right.
We are still looking for a technology teacher at the middle school. We have some possibilities that they're interviewing this week. I don't understand why that's such a difficult position to find, but people just are not getting that certification, which kind of baffles me this day and age. So we're hoping we have some prospects that come out this week, and we have the LPN position that we've had a really hard time replacing. So we actually took an Indeed ad out in the newspaper and got some folks in, and I think they're meeting with them this week. So fingers crossed by the next board meeting, we should have most of our hires done. minus bus drivers. We are always looking for bus drivers. So talk that up everywhere you go.
Being that we're not a medical institution,
Yep.
and just because there's been some turnover in some of the nursing areas, and I know, it's hard to find good people for the school setting. But what kind of support do we have internally? Like, how do we induct? I know how we induct teachers and administrators, but how does a nurse get support in a non-medical?
These are typically nurses that have had other positions and they're either retired or so they have the knowledge and they just are looking for something.
So we're recruiting.
Shorter.
We're trying to recruit other school nurses then.
Or actually, we can take LPNs. We can take them from the medical field if they're at the end of their career. They don't want to work in a hospital anymore. A school is a great place for them because
I don't know how competitive rates are versus the marketplace and where our compensation lands, but I know that if there's a lack of interest, I just know economics 101, there's no supply, no supply.
It is a
How do
different,
we create a demand?
it's a different level of nurse than what you would. So I will say that if you're going to go to an ER, you're going to make a lot more money than you are if you're coming to a school setting. But the responsibilities are much more. You've got trauma, you've got all day long. We're talking LPNs that are working with individual students on particular healthcare needs. So it's more targeted and it's not as
certification. No, I hear you.
It's not an RN.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
It seems like we've always had, the issue with retaining the LPNs or the RNs, just the nature of, the occupation. I mean, some of them probably will come on board if they have, children in the district, working, or in another district where they can, they have that opportunity to be off the same time their children are and have the summers. So
Right.
it is a difficult position to fill. It seems like we've had a large amount of turnover over years in those positions.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
But bus drivers, speak that up everywhere you go because Kathy she'll train them. She'll walk them through the certification process. She'll put them on as substitutes and monitors in capacities that she's allowed to use them until they're fully trained. But they do a really good job, and we've got some really good folks that have come through the system because they've been trained by our in-house folks. So a couple of years ago, I found somebody on the rail trail. I happened to stop on my bike, and I was talking to somebody who had driven bus years ago. And so he applied here and he worked for us for a couple of months, but then he lived on the other side of the river and didn't want to come.
Drivers are being posted, and do you share that with your internal email group?
Yes.
Like, if you know anybody interested in
absolutely,
driving,
there's a sign out on 9W.
I see that. We see that. As a matter of fact, that's the problem. Is it starts just bleeding into the background because everybody needs them, no matter what community you go to. But
Kathy has done some things where she'll take a school bus, she'll put a sign on, she'll move it around the community. So, we'll try anything. We'll try anything to get people through the door. So,
Joel,
I know you do.
Let's go backwards to the LPN position. That's generally conditional, especially if we need one or two more each year on student need, correct?
Well, typically right now we have one in each building, and they're considered a shared service within the building. So the day of one nurse to one kid, we've gotten away from that so that they're working with multiple kids.
This is, I will tell you,
one position in each building.
Yes.
Might have 2 or 3
Correct.
students, unless it's a really hard case.
It's not bad to have a floater.
Yeah.
In a good model who helps with the entering the information periodically, can sub if someone's out, because substituting your nurse is always a challenge too.
Yeah.
Chances are we're always going to have a need, 2 or 3 individuals, like you figure in each building.
Well, our LPNs do fill in for our RNs when they're out.
That too.
And we are fortunate at the elementary school because it is a large building. There's a health aide that does work in the nurse's office. She's able to cover. There was some cross training that we did at the elementary level with some of the other staff. They can only do certain things. There are things that have to be by a medical professional, so you can't
It's a
cross
unionized
those.
environment, so
Yeah.
you can't get too far over your
You know,
skis.
and then if the student population changes at any point in time and we have a really good LPN, do we try to
We
keep
move
them?
them around. We've
Find
always
something.
had a need for the ones that we have.
Okay. Good.
So
I just want to keep good people in
No,
a
absolutely.
unique situation, they're not losing it.
Yep.
Any other questions for the
You know, one would
superintendent?
ask, if you're always being moved around year after year, is that an assignment that earns permanency?
It could, but
You know,
again,
like
hard to find.
after a while, people don't want to move around. They want to report to an assignment,
Yeah.
and like everybody else.
That's the flip side of it, yeah.
You know?
Any other questions for the superintendent? Patrick, do you have anything at this point that you? know you're
Just
not
that
on
the summer's moving along. We had our retreat on July 22nd with our administrative team. It went really well. We spent the morning doing some reflection on the year, seeing what went well and what we want to change, setting some goals for the upcoming year. We do have our title grants. There's been a lot about federal withholding of money. So some of that's not going to come in on time. So they're telling us to move forward with the allocations that we do have, to submit that, and then they're going to reopen when the other money does finally get allocated to us. So it seemed like they are anticipating it somewhat soon, but no exact date. And just lastly, we are going to have our new teacher orientation on August 20th. So we have 8 new teachers starting with us that we're going to spend the day with to review.
Right. What's the exposure on the federal program side?
So we got our Title I and Title IV allocations. The Title I is the most important one. That helps, fund some salaries.
So do we get a total of 1.4 million from federal grants? Like,
for
I think
Title,
I'm looking for dollars.
so our typical Title I allocation is under $300,000. It's probably anywhere between $260 and $285, depending on the year.
All right, let's say 300K.
Our Title II is typically $50,000 to $60,000. That helps support professional development for our teachers. So that's the one that hasn't come in yet. But that one, if we have to wait a little bit to see what we can afford with, professional development and other things, we can kind of work with that one. Our Title III allocation is always very small. We're talking about $1,000. It's actually, we apply as a consortium with Ulster BOCES. And then Title IV is about anywhere between $19,000 and $22,000, depending on the year. That some of that money goes towards our SRO program. So really, the Title II and the Title III haven't come in. Those are the ones we don't know yet, but Title I and Title IV came in, so we're moving forward with those.
But you're saying that our monies derived from the budget from federal grants are under $500,000.
So we also get the Special Ed 611 and 619 grants. So that's
we know that IDEA funds are unaffected by
so we got that
state
typically.
conflict.
Yep. So we got that just as we normally did. We submitted those grants at the end of June. Those are about probably close to $60,000 to $300,000. Actually, no, a little over $300,000.
Now, you alluded to the fact that the state seemed that they were going to get that money. And did they indicate whether that is because of lawsuit or compliance with federal requirement?
They didn't really say. We had a webinar last week, and it was part of it was going over the application and looking at it.
Right.
And they said, they just put out a new blurb today. It used to be just move forward. Now it was move forward with these, and there was some different wording, but they seemed to think that it was in motion. But no exact timeline that they wanted to commit to.
Something that came out of the law conference, which the principals group was there, we had a good time last Friday, was that should the state not be in compliance and monies are withheld, there are ways for districts to go and certify to be able to release those funds. Probably has to do with some website cleanup and terminology and things like that. I mean, things related to DEI programming and that sort. Okay, cool.
Any other questions for Dr. Boyd?
There was one last one, and I apologize. I believe that curriculum and instruction falls under your domain now. So I'm just curious, as September rolls along, what does CNI have in store for Highland schools as we
I think one of the biggest things this year for us is going to be really unpacking Portrait of a Graduate and looking at, that's going to be our big undertaking, and revamping and looking at how we utilize some of our teacher leaders for the upcoming year, and what that looks like. So part of that is incorporating them in the planning, so getting their heads together to see how that's going to unfold for this year.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Boyd. All right, I'm going to move on the Board of Education. I'm going to move Board of Ed goals and mission statement to discussion after we adopt the two policies, and then we'll have board goals and mission statement and our continued discussion on the community usage of facilities / insurance. Okay. Under your old business, Highland Central School District Policy Number 5685, maximum temperature for school buildings and indoor facilities. It's our second reading. Be it resolved, the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approve the attached Highland Central School District Board of Education Policy Number 5685, titled Maximum Temperature for School Buildings and Indoor Facilities, as presented to the board at this meeting. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Janine, second by Ed. Discussion. I'm sure you all read, I think it's 82 degrees, and then you have to close blinds, do whatever else you can do to kind of isolate and keep the room as cool as possible. If it reaches, is it 88 degrees? If it reaches 88 degrees, then we have to mobilize them to a different location. I believe with our capital project now, we're going to have larger common areas that are going to be tempered air starting hopefully in September. We have cafeterias, we have auditoriums, we have libraries, we have gymnasiums. Not the same in each building, but we have a multi.
See, that's the problem, is we're starting to end up with a jigsaw puzzle when it comes to HVAC. And something, of course, in the future, as we wrap up this capital project, but in the future, I think climate control in all of our buildings will move to the forefront.
Peter, right now, elementary school is going to be both cafeterias, upper and lower, just the upper. Gymnasium or multi-purpose room.
Yes.
And libraries always had AC.
Yes.
Middle school is gymnasium.
No.
No.
Cafeteria.
Cafeteria and library. High school is auditorium, cafeteria, and gymnasium.
Right.
We're lacking, it's a smaller campus. Middle school is going to have 2 locations.
The HVAC.
In the future, like you said, we could move a project to update some of the other larger spaces.
Next capital project, try to take another swing at it.
Yeah.
Eventually, we could look.
I think you'll have more success with the next capital project with that now that there is regulation from the state.
Yeah.
I wish there was some funding that came along with these requirements, but at least now there's something there for us to put our teeth into.
Air quality right now is the topic of the day.
Yeah.
It has to do with wildfires in Canada. It has Canada. It has to do with local factors.
Yeah.
So it's been very interesting how all of a sudden it's the topic. So that's
Yeah, eventually, even though they're hodgepodge, there can be air handlers put in later on down the line that can integrate. Even if we have segments right now, later on we can incorporate them all through the use of air handlers.
Okay, so we have our second reading. The motion was Janine and Ed. Is there any further questions, concerns? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Finally, Central School District Policy 7316, student use of personal technology. This is our second reading. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the attached Highland Central School District Board of Education Policy Number 7316, titled Student Use of Personal Technology, as presented to the board at this meeting. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Mike, second by Tom. Discussion. I think we've had numerous meetings where we discussed the use of personal technology.
You know, in this particular forum, we've been talking about the cell phone policy for all too long.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this one is, I think, drew some even some additional parameters than what we wanted to see. The bell-to-bell concept, and they've clarified since then. So looks like we're gonna recapture that student time, and it's a bit of a learning curve, but no cell phones in school should be a good thing.
This is
Right.
Devices, I should say, because it's a lot more than cell phones.
And
27 states now. I saw that this morning.
And climbing, probably.
Yeah.
And the fortunate piece of this is that we implemented it back in March or April.
Mid-March.
So staff and students already have been prepped for what's to come again in September. So I think we're in a good position.
It gives the tools that are needed. I think this point is administrative now to whatever the environment is and how it's enforced is going to fall to the administration.
Well, we are very fortunate that lockers were included in this capital project, because lockers seem to be the only acceptable space in the school, by and large. So that's good. That's good. We're good. We're prepared to issue lockers to students. I know a lot of them don't use them,
Yep.
so this might be a new, a new routine for them,
Yep.
checking back with a locker. But thanks. That's it.
Okay, any other further discussion? Okay, motion by Mike, second by Tom. All those in favor?
Just wondering if there's any concerns from the administration on this policy.
No, we have law to stand by now.
I was gonna say, now it's
Not from where they're
That's
standing right
horrifying.
now.
Right, good, try it again. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Okay, under old business, we got a couple topics we're going to start discussion on. The first one being Board of Education goals and mission statement. I know we brought this back in December, and we had a few rounds of discussion, and then we kind of felt that it was towards the end of or midway through the school year. Let's initiate it again, resurrect it again in the summer, and see if we can put it in place for September. So Jen had sent out back in December our current mission statement and our current Board of Education goals and district goals, which would be on the backside of it. That's the current mission statement, and that's the current Board of Education goals and district goals. Does everyone feel that we need to kind of update our mission statement?
Yes. I put some work into this, but when I look at mission statements, when I look at cycles of improvement, a lot of times we talk about like a 5-year cycle. I know that's talked a lot about in facilities planning, and a lot of our state requirements are like these 5-year cycles. So seems like it's an interesting time as we bring this capital project to a close, or it will be closing relatively soon, I think. And with this new leadership team at the building levels that we have, I'm almost looking at this like year 0 of a 5-year cycle, where you're going to take the time to unpack this new state model on the curriculum side. We should probably take stock as we close this capital project. We're always talking about with our architects, what's the next 5 going to bring? Is electric vehicles still an option? There's a few things that have come up over the year that I think we could plug in. So with that, turning the page to a new chapter, when I look at our mission statement, these are the words that kind of bleed through to me that perhaps need a little reshuffling. All very valuable. It's not like they're going away, but first and foremost, and this is usually almost by importance is what you kind of mentioned first, but ours goes diversity, community engagement, quality education, experiences and opportunities, positive future for students, and affordability. And when I read a lot of the mission statements from area schools that I think are very competitive and are moving in positive directions, all those are elements in there. But there's no doubt we focused on diversity the past 5 years, right? The creation of a committee, we had a consultant, we had student concerns right at the beginning of that, and we addressed that. I'm not saying those things still are important. They certainly still continue. But when I'm now at another 0, looking at a 5-year from a leader trying to plan, it might not be the first item. Maybe it's quality education. And maybe while we have the time, we've got contracts settled, to my knowledge. So no big contracts, negotiation. Maybe it's time to bring community engagement to the front. Let's talk with our community. Let's talk about some forums where we might, other than our board meetings, be able to interact. A coffee, sometimes they do these coffee round circles. Maybe we do one at the American Legion, 3 of us, and another 3 go to the firehouse. Well, I'm just out of the box, but I'm trying to engage the community because lately we've been with other community leaders really talking about community concerns, and we were able to solve some problems. I don't know if we solved them short-term or long-term, but maybe those types of exchanges need to continue.
But those that you just mentioned would be part of our Board of Education goals, not our mission statement.
Well, right now we're talking about the mission statement. All 6 of those words I pulled from our mission statement. Right. And I'm just saying, I think that, if diversity still ends up after some discussions still being our priority, fine, it comes first. If not, maybe that changes the wording. I will tell you, there are some mission statements I like, nothing direct out there, but I have 2, including ours. Ours doesn't go away. It's got beautiful concepts. There's another 2 that I'm looking to blend in there that might produce something that represents what I am thinking for the next 0 to 5. That doesn't mean Tom is thinking about something different or Janine. I'm just speaking to but I'm willing to share that with you beyond tonight. It's still on paper. I've got a lot of documents, but that's all. That's my comments on the mission statement.
I had, back in December, I'd come up with our long-term mission is to be a district that supports all students in developing critical reasoning and literacy skills, in developing their creative ideas, athletic talents, and life skills, and awareness for their social, emotional, and physical well-being, as well as that of others. I guess my big thing, if I was to isolate words like you had said, Mike, life skills. I know back when we were pushing for college and career ready, but I think, life skills is what we got to embed in our students, because a lot of them are coming out without all those life skills that are necessary for them to move on. For me, that's a word.
I'm ready in every way we can, and as a community, to highlight the trades because they're needed, and you produce wonderful earnings. You can do whatever you want with these trades, and perhaps we're always talking about academics. That doesn't go away, but how do we now, where maybe that's shaded career exploration in the trades, how do we make them equivalent in our belief statement? I'd be interested in talking about that because they're really needed.
Right. Jen, do you want to read what you put together back then?
What I had done, because I value everything everyone's saying, and what I did in my draft to try to capture that was sort of enhance the mission statement so that we used more inclusive yet ambiguous terminology, so that when we say a student reaches their fullest potential, that's encompassing academics, trades, or whatever that picture may look like. And then what I did is I broke it up into what I call ideals. These are sort of overarching themes that don't have to be updated yearly, but we can strive to write annual goals that meet both the mission statement and sort of these concepts and the ideals, things that everyone is talking about here. And this may be too much, but it's kind of where my head was going. So I'll just read the mission statement. It sounds very much like what everyone said. I just used different language. The Board of Education is dedicated to fostering an inclusive and supportive educational environment that champions the success of every student. We commit to engaging our diverse community in collaborative efforts to ensure high quality education, promote equity, and cultivate lifelong learners. By leveraging our collective experiences and insights, we strive to prepare students for a dynamic and inclusive future, empowering them to reach their fullest potential. And then we can decide in goals, which is more like you kind of check them off each year, what exactly that means. This way the mission statement can stay sort of evergreen, and then each year we can evaluate what we want to work towards. So that's why I divided it in then this list of ideals. If everyone sees the first set of bullets as ideals, and then I just kind of rehashed goals for the Board of Ed, and then maybe goals for the district that could be more tangible. And
there are some pieces of that I like, and there's some pieces that I dislike from what I've heard. Words like inclusivity and these things I think we're trying to turn the page on that. They may be a little polarizing. I think that's something perhaps we can work on that terminology. Yeah, just.
I think it's in essence inclusivity just imparts a communal sense of empathy, and I think maybe that's where you're seeing it as a polarizing word. Maybe we do have to rephrase it, but ultimately, I think we have to phrase it that we are a public school, and it's brought together through the public efforts and the public coffers, the community. And if we emphasize that one of the important things is that we're raising or trying to contribute to their full growth and full potential with the recognition that they are part of a community and with respect that goes towards being a member of the community. So some people will say that falls under citizenship or recognition of whether they're.
Well, we could say citizenship. I like that.
But that can also be. I agree with that. But again, that can be polarizing in another way. But I think the same intention, inclusivity on one side points to the recognition of the human condition and that we are all valuable. Citizenship again points to the value of our community, our nation, and I think all are wonderful things. And I think if we recognize that under the umbrella of this is a public school.
It's mentioned twice. It just rubs me a little differently.
I'm just saying we're a public school, and we're brought here through the efforts of the community, and we reflect that. And I think when we bring these students to their full potential, we're bringing them to the potential of becoming responsible members of that community, with all that it entails, the skills that Alan's talking about, the full potential of their intelligence, their critical thought.
My intention of the word inclusive future was to address those that go to college, those that go to trade school, those that enter the workforce. I was trying to come up with a word that could address those goals beyond secondary education. So we can come up with another word, but that's where my head was
kind of worn out
in that language.
Yeah, we get that. Well, some of those terms are worn out.
Agreed. But that's where my head was in using it.
Moving away from that.
I think we're moving away from the concept of inclusivity because that's empathy. That's what forms a community, right?
I like empathy.
I'd like to see that. In general, I like cultivate lifelong learners. I mean, that's what we're here to strive for.
Yeah, in whatever form
not in,
that
in
takes.
any one particular direction, but in multiple directions.
Yeah. So yeah, again, a draft open for discussion, but my head was trying to come up with language that set us up for goals, that it's not just measuring how many went to college or how many went to, we were talking about that in other capacities this year. So I know that's important to all of us.
Yeah. So why don't we take these words that we're all, I know Mike highlighted, quality education, because the underlying quality, we're a diverse group. experiences, positivity, and affordability. I had out of mind, the life skills, and there are a couple other ones, the social, emotional, and physical well-being. Jen's, I think, cultivate lifelong learners. Let's try to take those words and develop a mission statement for our next meeting, and maybe we can move forward with one.
Excellent. Absolutely. I'm willing to share. Yeah.
And that's for the mission statement.
Goals.
No, yeah, for Board of Education goals, currently, we're developing superintendent evaluation tool, which we've already done that.
Yeah, we have.
I don't believe we did anything this year.
Some did.
Okay. Conduct retreats.
You have to go in and
I know.
Hit the button because I
By the
can't
way,
see it until you close it.
I appreciate all the artifacts. Half of that gets you to. There's a lot. Was it every agenda you attached?
And then some.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very complete.
Conduct.
But that proves that those are artifacts that speak to each of those things, and that's what the goal is. It makes you think about.
I put time into the tool.
Yeah, it makes you think about each of those tenets.
Yeah.
We have that. Conduct retreats and self-evaluations twice a year. We really haven't done a lot of that. But
so there is a self-evaluation, just so that you're aware, there's a self-evaluation piece on Super Eval that can be used by the board. And that's part of the total.
Right.
1 year, one of the trustees actually did that, but not the superintendent piece. So
I will definitely.
You just have to be careful when you're toggling between the different.
I will definitely put together a retreat. I think we have a couple newer local establishments that we can go to and sit down and work that through.
Say that.
Get mandated training.
It's been 4 years since.
All new board members have to have that mandated training. I mean, I think we can pull that out. Monitor to control micromanaging. I think this board and past boards have really stayed on top of that. Set up long-range strategic plans for finance programs and services.
I have that one as staying, even if we change it a little bit.
I think it needs to be reworded a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't know if you agree that we should treat this as a DMARC and moving forward like a year zero. I don't know if any, but that just helps me, and that certainly supports that concept. You know what I mean?
Right. Explore different ways to engage staff outside of professional development. I don't know what we've done in that area.
Well, maybe it fits if we just say community, because staff is part of our community. Anyway, engaging the public is always something we should strive to do.
The one thing that I would caution, instead of thinking about getting rid of, because you almost want, in my opinion, you want a historical piece here so that as members change, they can see the history of what you've worked on, because that might be something that they personally need to work on to fit into the changing dynamic here. That's something we always talk about as administration.
Well, we should date it then.
Yeah.
You know, let's date them and have these copies, and more than on a OneDrive somewhere that multiple folks could get to. But yes, but when we say we're getting rid of, what we're really saying is we've met that, we've done it, and we're checking it off, making room for others, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, but as you say, it's always evolving. So there, as Joel's pointing out, that pendulum can swing, and it may be a goal that needs to be.
And maybe it's a section of be cognizant of these are some of the things that we've done in the past, and we don't want to lose sight of those.
Right.
Because you don't want to slip back.
Right. Seek fair and cost-effective settlements to contracts. I think we've come to realize where we are with those, and we have developed some.
Well, cost effective, you know, we made it work.
Yeah.
We made it happen.
Yeah. deliver a budget that supports education and is affordable to the public. Again, we're bound by the 2% rule, and we try to do the best we can within those means.
Read off your voting results and
Yeah.
put a check next to it.
Yep.
The community is supportive, resounding.
District goals, achieve academic success and excellence. Probably what we all want.
That's never gonna go away.
Yeah.
That's always a goal.
It should become more
I
specific
think
through
a little-
conversation,
Yeah,
right?
I think that it
What
needs
does
a
that
little
mean?
bit, I think it
what
needs
that
a little
means.
bit more to it.
Right. I mean, you do it because 94% of
do.
your graduates graduate with a high school diploma. You're sending kids to Yale and, you know, all these wonderful institutions. So there is a lot of success. So how do we make that more meaningful as a goal?
Incorporate quality management practices in all aspects of district and board operations.
I think this is an important one. I only say that because you've got consolidated roles at the central level. You've got a new leadership team at your building levels. I think that this is something that we spend time talking about. It'll require Dr. Boyd's personnel hat, of course, you know, but maybe it's time to put a new organizational map together just so we can see what that looks like. What are the titles? Where are the people?
Yeah, I mean, that should stay.
Is
We should
Mary Ann
reword- we
Ingraham
should
here
reword
2
it.
years from now? I don't know. How's the master schedule going to get done? I don't know. 3 years, 4
We're gonna
years.
hire her back as a consultant.
So
Here's the word community again, build public confidence and involvement in our schools.
I think that's the huge one. This is the biggest one.
And I think we have. I know, you know, the last capital project, I think more so from the superintendent, but I think the entire board went out there to promote that capital project. So we were building, you know, public confidence in what we were trying to develop, and they supported it. And
I think
yeah, I don't.
hopefully they'll support future bond
the recent
propositions.
events involving zoning and whatnot, to see the public come here as a forum, and then to see representatives from this forum go back to the public forum, I thought was wonderful to see, you know, and your presence, of course, here. I'd love to see the
Yeah.
interaction. It's something we hadn't had for many years, you know, to have the town board coming to the school board meetings and the school board showing up to town board. I think that's the kind of interplay we really need to build the public confidence.
Well,
Sure.
we're interconnected, and
Yeah,
I think that's
I think
what we're
that's-
starting to see more than we have in the past.
Well, we always have, yeah, and
Interconnectedness,
that's, I think, and then the public is, I would love to see more people at these meetings, and, you know, whenever there's a hot button issue that comes up, and it's always, I'm actually happy to see them, because I like people to think that their voices are being heard, but it'd be nice to hear voices when things are going well too, you know?
You know, I think there's a stigma that Board of Education are the mean people. You know, we're the ones that send down the directives, and sometimes we don't even discuss it, but I know personally from, you know, having a spouse involved, you know, 10 to 11 years ago, that why did you guys make us do this? I said, we never even talked about it, but they use the Board of Education as the scapegoat. But I think to build confidence in the entire staff, I did it once. We did a roundtable with staff, and I think it worked out well at a public meeting. But I always encourage, and you probably heard me say, we want more of the staff to come and be involved in our meetings.
I don't think staff has any staff.
But we invite them,
bargaining
but they
units have
don't,
any problem
show.
coming to the Board of Education, you know, with issues. I mean, if that's a problem, I don't see it. I'm saying that.
Yeah,
I think they're more, you know, very readily come to the board and
we had this
say,
discussion
you
with
know,
the cell
sometimes I'm like, did you even, what about down the hall? Have you met with anybody? But, so I don't know if that's the problem as much as the community we don't see. You know, when you say the capital project, you know, let's say, what, we have 75, 8,000 residents, maybe a little bit more, and 1,000 voted for the capital project. I know we could say that's overwhelming because the statistics say, but it's still not a huge representative sample of the community. Now, they might not care. You know, no news is good news sometimes, but when you're looking for engagement, you're just looking for ideas. You're looking for what's the next thing that you want to see in your schools. You know, what is it that you want to see?
Absolutely, and that's why we.
It was
try to
very clear people
encourage-
did not want to see a crematorium next to the school. Boom, great community involvement, great communication, and things happen as a result.
I think part of that does happen because, you know, we are conduits, you know,
Sure.
and that initial statement that we are a diverse group of people wasn't in reference to the school, but the board itself, is that we all come from different occupations, some of us have children in the building, some of us had children in the building, some of us have relatives who have worked in the district, others have, you know, we all work in different occupations. And I think in representing the community, I think community members feel comfortable coming to us and expressing their concerns, their needs, their hopes, their desires, and we bring those back on a regular basis. So I think in that sense, we do have through us as conduits, the community can reach the board. But it would be nice for the community to feel comfortable. Everybody's so busy, I know, and scheduling, especially when you have students that you're trying to feed and get homework done. And the last thing you have time for is to come to a board meeting at night. But it is nice that they reach out to us and that they feel comfortable with, or through letters to the administration. But it would also be nice to see them here as well.
No, I think we had good conversation with staff, all around staff, regarding the cell phone policy back when we had some groups come in and speak on behalf of what they felt was the pros and cons to
yes,
cell
I
phone.
hear you.
But I think we need more of that kind
I
of
got
conversation. That's what I'm looking for.
You
We're
know what?
not here to work together as a team to better the education piece for the students.
I think the public would be surprised
Well
at how
said.
little power we have in terms of what we can, you know.
Yeah. But anyway, I think we try to build public confidence and involvement in our schools, but we can expand on that. The last one on district goals is develop and implement a 5-year strategic plan that meets the facility of the faculty, transportation, educational, and administrative needs of the district. I don't remember how long ago this district goals and mission statement is, probably 10 years maybe that we haven't really revised this. Have we put a 5-year plan in place? I think we pretty much go with a 5-year type of plan, or even sooner, regarding capital projects, and it's all built around the infrastructure and what serves the students' needs and the staff's needs.
And as we rotate out our issues, the loans and the bond is, when it makes sense for us to fiscally rotate them over and borrow new monies to make those improvements. I think we've done that effectively, and I think the transportation, we've set that up on a rotating 5-year. I think we've done that effectively. Yeah. I think staffing, staffing for transportation, as Joel's mentioned several times, there's a large number of retirements coming around the bend. I think we have to be prepared for that. Along with that, my understanding is this is dropping off of people becoming certified, given that the attraction of the state in its tier 6 is not.
Are you talking drivers or teachers?
I'm talking teachers at this point, but I shifted from drivers to teachers.
Depending on the discipline.
Yeah.
Why don't we just get rid of that word faculty and put staff? Because it leads you to think that you're only looking to work with one group of people, one discipline.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. District staff.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it even was meant to be facility, but
I think for the next meeting, we'll come back, 4 or 5 goals for each one of both district and Board of Education, I think is sufficient. I mean, there's some that can be taken out of Board of Education goals and just keep it at 4 or 5 bullets.
I think creating a set of Board of Education goals would suffice. District and department goals might come from central office, I'd imagine. Not to cut our assignment short, but
Yeah, we can have that discussion. I mean, we can implement some of these, become part of district goals.
Well, expectations of the district that we would, one of our goals would be to clearly set forth our expectations to the district and work in conjunction with the administration and staff to arrive at. I think, I like that sense of communication and community.
So we're good. We'll come back to the next meeting. And
Let's do an intent share, and let's keep this at the forefront.
Yep.
So the next meeting is productive, and we might even leave there
Yeah,
with the
we'll,
draft, or go into there with the draft.
Yeah.
I know these were shared in the past, but are they in a particular spot, what you drafted up and what you drafted up for?
So I put it in the school's OneDrive, thinking it would be accessible to everyone, new and old, but then I can't get into it.
If everybody
so.
can send me everything, I can put it in a Friday update so that it's all in one spot.
That'd be great, yeah, because
Yeah, I just wanted a shareable document that wasn't gonna be iterations downloaded that were.
I may not have each. I know I have the one that you said, because November
Yeah, I never
13th,
sent
I just
mine
looked it
too.
up. If you send me your things, I can put them all in one spot on a Friday update.
Do you have
Well-
mine from your, I had sent one back in December. I
No, you did.
struggled
That might
trying
be the
to
one.
find
Kept the date.
it on, I'll have to go, if not, I'll.
Barracuda mail ate it.
It could
Yeah.
be-
Yeah, then I think this is it.
Seven
think
very
that's
good.
yours.
I thought it was
Give
Jay.
me that, because then I can
That's
just.
mine. I couldn't find it and I tried to go back in the set and I couldn't find it.
I can look in your name and then just type in a couple of these words and it should pop up.
I don't know how I got it.
That's what I was trying to get to
I
find.
thought it was doing so good by OneDrive.
I hate OneDrive.
And now, typically when I put in a Friday update, I put it in as a Word, or I put it in as a PDF because that's easier for everyone to open. Do you want them in there as a Word also, so that if
I
you
mean, is
take
the
it?
goal for us to be able to add notes or comments to a working document, or are we just gonna keep submitting content and you keep updating it? Like
I mean, everybody has different capacity at
I
that.
know.
So, this is you?
Well, that's what happened when
Did
I
you
sent
send this to
mine.
me?
I had tracked it and
Do you
then
have
it
it
wouldn't
electronically?
No.
take the
If you could
tracking
send it
comments.
electronically,
That's
that'd be great.
defeats what everyone, like, you don't know what I changed then, if you can't see the tracking comments.
I think we have an early, when you were saying if we actually do a retreat, we actually have,
Yeah, we might need a tech.
we could sit, one of our retreat could be to share all of this information and draft up an actual formalized.
Yeah, we can have a discussion at the next meeting and then bring it into September and have a retreat early in the school year.
We might need a facilitator. The way this got done was we had a facilitator. I don't know if it was Sarah at the time, or a NISBA person, but I think it was Sarah Dudley Lemon.
It was so long ago, I don't recall.
I remember.
I know
there
we
was
had
a-
open discussion like we're doing right now, and that's how we put it
The
together.
I
words
believe we
on
did it
a
in
board.
cuneiform.
That's always great. It's very
Yeah.
productive to have those. Yeah, I'm all for that. Then how do we log it and track it in a document? Sorry.
It's your job, Jen.
Yeah, I mean, right. Maybe you're,
It's my
you
tech hat
you
coming up.
continue
Pay for those
that, right?
services. I can.
We have electronic
Get you
sticky
a-
notes, Jen.
Right?
So we
This
had
is a smart.
Too many sticky notes.
retreat.
I think we're very close.
Yeah, I think so
We
too. I think,
We're all circling the same thing. We really are.
But I think, Mike, to
Yeah,
your
we
point,
stay away
it's
from
important that we know trigger
Yeah, we
words and try and
facilitate
explain it so that we don't alienate anybody. I think that's a good.
Yeah.
I think to have that, I think
All right,
we can consider ourselves well friends and to have that discussion. once.
So why don't we start at least minimally? Everyone send me what they have, and I'll get it all in one place, so that everybody has a way to take a look at it,
Okay.
and then we can go from there after the next meeting.
No, I think tonight was productive. It was good. I mean, we had a little bit more input than we did back in,
Yeah, I think
December and
that,
January.
yeah, I think that's.
okay. Last item under old business is to continue the discussion of community usage of facilities and insurance. I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think we came out of that last discussion somewhat of a consensus that we as a board are going to allow our youth groups to be able to utilize the facilities that are community supported without going to the extreme requirements of NYSER regarding insurance requirements. I think that's kind of the general take I got from everyone at the last meeting. So with that being said, Is it something that you want to move forward and setting up some parameters? I think we've had open discussion. I know at our reorg meeting we had, in our general meeting, we had a community group, Pop Warner group was here and kind of gave us some insight into what they do and the insurance requirement, what they carry and what they can't cover. And then they have that, help me out.
The universal waiver.
Yeah, the universal waiver that every one of their participants signs, which is another layer of, I'm going to say, somewhat of a protective piece for the district. I'm sure, you know, if something severely happens that you're going to dig into everything, but I think that's another layer of protective coverage for the district. So I'm open for discussion on how you want to move. I mean, there could be some guidelines put in place as far as their enrollment in their organization. You know, do we want to kind of restrict it to a percentage of local community athletes or student athletes or student participants?
Because the district is small in comparison, you know, like if we put a limit that, you know, X amount, maybe not a number, but a percentage have to be Highland residents, and we're so small compared to surrounding groups that may join us, we may, you know, write ourselves right out of use by that. So I just want to be smart that if we want to make sure that Highland is, you know, getting the most benefit out of it, but we only have 2 Highland participants because that's a large part, you know, percentage for whatever that activity is. I want to be smart about how that language is written so we don't write ourselves out of use.
Understood.
For some of it.
Understood. And I think we got to be a little broad on our thinking here, because we're not just focused on the athletic piece of community involvement. It's the other ones. It's your Girl Scouts, it's the Boy Scouts, it's all those groups that are local that want to use our facilities. And this is not, I think this is not strictly geared towards the athletic facilities, but it's the building use and the insurance requirement for building use participation.
Can I spitball something here? Sure. We had talked in previous meetings about one of the great vulnerabilities is not knowing, because we can bring a group in, but we don't know how strictly they're going to adhere to the things that would make us vulnerable. You know, that if an event were to happen and they could point out that we were negligent for certain reasons of supervision, or the way things had been handled, the students were allowed, or the people participating were allowed to go places they weren't supposed to be going. So to me, it seems our weakest link is, of course, the supervision aspect while these groups are utilizing the facility. So what if we made contingent on the reduced requirements, like we're saying, and rather than going to the full extreme, saying we can reduce that down if you have a representative who's been trained by the district under the things that we find important. So they have to be, that trained individual has to be present when they're gathering, someone who's been informed of what things we're vulnerable for, to litigation, to supervision. In other words, taking the language of the insurance companies and financials and what our vulnerabilities are from the attorneys, and having somebody who's constantly aware. So in the same way that administration is always aware.
As soon as the district starts training people, you're assuming a lot more responsibility than you should. So that's not a direction I want.
You're not sort of, no.
And these groups haven't.
I think that's.
There's been no problem. Why would we want to supervise? There's been no problems.
But Ed, to your point, because I'm a Girl Scout leader, and as a leader, we have to go through rigorous background checks and training. So depending on the group, maybe you have to say as part of the reservation is you have to show proof that you followed, because Girl Scouts, I can speak for Girl Scouts, has very rigorous trainings and things like that.
What I'm talking about is something, so our facilities director knows areas they shouldn't be in and should be in. Our athletic director knows ways that the field should be used and shouldn't be used, and things that are, and so that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about a formalized training. I'm making sure that people who utilize, anytime you bring somebody in, if it's in the theater, if it's a bar facility, you make them aware of the emergency exits, you make them aware of protocol, and that's all part of our responsibility. And failing to do that makes us legally vulnerable.
What you're suggesting says you want to supervise things in the PM.
No, I'm asking that they have somebody who's been informed.
Drives up costs.
No, I'm saying that we have, in order to give a reduced.
Give me an example.
Insurance.
I think what he means is to have people know what our rules are.
And that actually lifts some of the onus from us, because.
But they sign off on that through the facilities use process.
Part of the
I
requirements
think
to
the
use the
facility
facilities?
use form goes through Peter Miller, am I correct? And then it's disseminated to
He's
check
thrilled
if
about
the
it.
facilities are available. Like if, I'm gonna say Girl Scouts come to you with the building use form, and they wanna utilize the elementary school on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 3:45. You have to follow through to see if they're available to utilize that at Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3:45.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
That's the process,
The easy part.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
right?
What
And then-
else is involved that makes it tough?
Well, the rules and everything are on the website for what they're supposed to know.
Right.
We're constantly dealing with different entities and things that they do that are outside the box, whether it's, they got, extra kids that aren't involved in the group, or they are blocking doors open, or they're doing all kinds of different things that they're not supposed to do. Running in the hallways, or, you name
Jumping
it.
off of cafeteria tables.
Or the proverbial food concession with the hot dogs in a crock pot.
I don't know nothing about what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I happened
That's what I'm
through the
saying.
school a couple times, and we railed against that, and we had issues within other departments about that kind of scenario. A pot of hot water on the end of the
Classically,
table.
what happens is people are trying to step outside the rules. And
Well, they are, and we've always done it this way. I got an answer one Saturday back in June regarding it, and I was just coming through the building with a group of people that class of '75's 50th high school reunion. That would be my wife's class. So they did a tour of the building. Thank you very much. We had a couple administrators that helped show them around and worked it through that. But coincide with that walk through the building, there also was a group here, a local group, who was having a big thing going on, and they had a food concession, and there was 2 big crock pots with hot dogs in and hot water, run by kids, not adults, not responsible adults, cords going out, coming in under a door, just not safe situations. And we've talked about this before, and it's been on our checklist. And right away, the checklist is what it is. Our only responsible people in the building, district employees, were from the custodial staff. Well, they had no idea what was signed off on. They were never really briefed on anything. So when I say, hey, what can we do about this? It's a liability.
Well, that's my point. That's what I'm saying. Is if we have a designated safety
That's
liaison.
central office's point. It's a major liability.
That's what I'm
Exactly.
saying.
So in this instance, if we have whatever group's applying for the use, they have an appointed safety liaison who takes that onus upon themselves. Then if it comes to a matter of litigation, they say, what efforts did the district make to make sure they were aware of where the fire equipment was, to make sure where the exits were, to make sure what the proper and we can say it was all given to the safety liaison who signed off saying that they were the duly represented for this group. If they violate those by putting up hot dog things with cords, then we just say your safety liaison failed to enact. We have this evidence, and you're no longer eligible at this reduced rate. Now we were going to require you to have the full amount of insurance.
I mean, there's other instances, but that
I know,
was
but that's I'm
like a
saying
hot
gives
button
us.
one.
But how do we monitor that? That is an additional requirement that we're gonna ask our custodial staff to do?
Give them a list, give them a piece of paper that shows what these people checked off.
I think those are the
and
things
signed
that
off
are seen naturally.
And it's not their
in the course
fault,
of their
but
job.
they
Give
might
them
be
an
better
iPad,
at
they
it.
got devices around here.
I'm not saying we have to actively
You'll
monitor
beam it to them right then and there.
The key in litigation here is one, to show that we're not negligent,
I'm
right? That we're
gonna ask
actually,
everyone to, it's right on our website. Pull up the building use form and see what's on there, just so we're not talking in riddles here, because there are specifics on that building use form.
There's acknowledgements.
If we want to truly enforce them, then Mr. Miller or whatever custodian's on duty that day or night is going to have to be able to enforce it. I mean, I don't think we want to reinvent the wheel here with what's on that list. Maybe it gets tweaked a little bit, just to, because we already put together a facilities use for our turf field. Remember that discussion we had several months ago? That's already out there, and I think that goes to those organizations when they want to utilize that field. That's out there.
Right.
but my point here is that we concentrated to one individual who's responsible to make sure those are upheld, not our hire, but someone that the group that's
Each
utilizing.
group must have a
has-
safety
that's-
liaison that's
That's my
certified
point.
and trained.
And president.
So when you say
Who
group, I think of
monitors
scouts,
that
there's
individual,
No,
that
that-
group that
versus-
When they
doesn't
take
show
that-
up to certain?
When they take that responsibility on, that's the requirement. But so should something happen, then we say, look, we've made the effort. We said that we asked for a safety liaison. We asked that liaison be trained. That liaison was responsible for this. And so this should cover us to the extent of the difference in the insurance. So it would allow us to allow the community greater access at less of a coverage, because we're doing our due diligence in an effort to make sure that they're aware and
I think we're
avoid.
going
So-
backwards.
I would support
I think
that.
we're trying to create our facilities to be more
Accessible.
used and accessible
That's
by
it.
our local community, but we're just adding more
No.
hurdles.
This is to
I
take
know
away the
scouts
money
have stopped
aspect.
using it.
You
This
mean
is
you
to
have
take away the money
your
aspect.
parents
things
will
that you do
volunteer
naturally
to
as a
be
leader.
the
You would
safety
be the natural
supervisor
Yes.
for your
But I
lacrosse
went to
club?
school because-
Who's
No, I'm
going?
saying-
Who's gonna
Be certified,
who's gonna
trained, and
monitor
held
that?
accountable.
That's what
Like-
my point is, that's what they're supposed to be doing. That's what
Well,
any
that's why I
teacher,
think
any
it's an
educator, any leader does that.
I agree, and that's why I think it's important. Going back to the original conversation, is like, I know, Jen, we are a small community and we don't want to put like stipulations on numbers and percentages, but again, the idea is that if you are an active member of this community, a taxpayer of this community, and you want to use our facilities, the idea is that you are being a
That-
diligent and respectful
What do you
adult
mean? That's how
who's
you
using the
think?
facilities.
That's not how all adults think. They think, well, there's 6 of us here. It's not my job. You know, if I'm one of 5 other fathers who are attending this event, why is it on me to make sure and be the bad guy and tell these kids to stop doing something when there's 4 other fathers who do? So the whole idea is to concentrate it on one person who's assuming the responsibility and has a reason for it.
That facility use form, correct me if I'm wrong, is signed by the participant. So if it's,
The organizer.
Well, it's submitted
or the
by-
organizer.
But that's not an inclusive list as we created for the turf field and the responsibilities that people have. The person has a building use form that they signed off on, and they're supposed to put on it what extra activities they're going to need or use for the facility. But nowhere on that does it say you can't build a campfire in room E32, okay?
Well, you should.
You know, those rules and things are explicit as to
So is
what
that
people
something
can do,
that
what they can't do.
we want to develop?
Well, I think if we show that we've made the effort to inform them, whoever's utilizing it, to inform them as to what they can or cannot, and then have them take the responsibility through a liaison, then I think that does a lot towards protecting us.
We are.
I like the idea. I don't know if it's executable.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I understand where
these
you're
groups
coming
can
from,
do
but
it.
how executable
But
is
I
it
do like
without
it.
creating other hurdles in other?
Well, and two points that were years ago, probably more than a decade, when there was groups that were using facilities, there was a percentage of people that had to be from Highland. Okay, that was included in the thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I think that we have to be careful as to what the expectations are of the custodial staff on being able to monitor and enforce and be an administrator in a building
Right.
at
That's
7:30 at night.
That's not in their
That's-
job
But
description.
that's what-
It's not enforced.
And again, this is something where if we have something like
We
this
could
in
create a
place,
league.
a custodian notices something's not happening and just say, oh, who is your safety liaison? It could be something they could actually ask. They could go up to anybody and say, who's your safety liaison? And they could point to the person and they could have that conversation privately with them.
This is why, thank you. part of this new facility and this new approach, we will and should talk about PM supervision from a facility's use. If all three are being used that much, and I know they are, it would help to have some type of evening supervision, not from Mr. Miller, but perhaps a title underneath that can assist with the PM supervision. If you have all these groups and we're saying it's a problem and there's people running around with boiling water, a custodian's job is to clean and monitor and yes, report safety items, but not necessarily to intercede and address that specifically, but perhaps another role might emerge.
But but also around this, right, is the people who are signing up to use the facility, right? Are they the same people that are actually the head of that activity? Because the other thing is like I could sign up to use the facility as Big Blue Booster Club. But if I'm not there and I'm giving it to two other parents, how do we know that they're following the same protocol? And like, we want to make sure that someone's not signing somebody up and they're not.
Ask if you're going to be at that event that evening. So
because that's another concern, right?
That's what I'm saying. This is again, the liaison would have to be present for the event to take
because
place.
if I'm doing it on behalf of two parents who wanted to do an event out of Highland Big Blue Booster Club, right, and I'm not there, right? There's liability there because I didn't go through the form, and how do we know? We should also be making sure the people using our facility are the ones that are actually and they're not people signing other people up to be coaching or being leaders in buildings and classrooms. How do we know that they're doing the right thing? That is what the intent was of the person who signed up for it.
The attorneys will find us.
You know, the interesting thing is we're talking about the how, but we never got to the why. You're asking the board to take community groups because a lot of those kids in those community groups are students to push the line of liability further towards the district because they're the same groups of students, right? Mm-hmm. And we know this is done in other districts. It takes a board to want to assume the increased liability and something else. What are those other variables? Like 75, while the district to our south has that policy, don't assume I know everything about it and how it came about. A lot of facilities meetings went into that. Is that why 75% or more of the students in that group need to be students in the school?
Agreed.
I think that's something I can get behind. I do.
That was my initial.
And scouts aside, because there's actually language in the law that helps scouts get access. I know it doesn't necessarily alleviate them of liability, but there's some different classifications of user. Why some of these policies have level 1, group, level 2 group, level 3 to level 4, whatever, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful and not kind of steer these groups away from utilizing the facilities. I mean, put too much of a burden on them to do all that policing. I mean, I think the superintendent said there's a function coming up on August 15th, which involves community members, student athletes from the community, in an event that.
How many people are expected to be on that
there's
site?
Probably a couple hundred, because I've been to a few of them. Yeah. Quite a few individuals. I mean, I don't want to put handcuffs on all these.
All of those people are they're all students here? Those couple hundred?
For the most part.
The invite list is to families, players
relatives,
of youth, modified, and varsity football players and their families.
On one hand,
so once you put in those categories, they must be policed. I'm sorry. You know that. And I don't know where that plays into the administration of that.
Yeah, I don't see how.
But at least I know the why.
We entered this saying that we didn't want to have, that the great encumberment was the amount of insurance required and the fiscal responsibility over getting that much insurance. And so we were trying to come up with a way of reducing the required amount of insurance. And the only way we could do that is by reducing our vulnerabilities. So now I'm saying we reduce our vulnerabilities by making sure that the people who are requesting the space are being responsible about how they use that space, and we're trying to put a mechanism in place for that. But now you're saying it's handcuffing them, but it's not. It's liberating them from the fees and the price of the insurance.
Well, there needs to be some guidelines as far as chaperoning or whatever. Because there are times that, and I'm not being critical, as careful as I can be, that 5 chaperones at an event, all in one place, is not.
That's what I'm saying. To isolate to one individual who is aware of what the vulnerabilities are and is a cognizant watchdog for those. And we're all volunteers here. None of us are being paid to be here on the board. It's out of a sense of community dedication and wanting to give back to the community. And presumably the people at these events, if they're utilizing the school grounds, they have the same desire. So I don't think it's a heavy lift to say, we want you to be educated about the facilities and be responsible for them.
No, but if you look at certain groups and activities, maybe what you're saying is someone to monitor a large group function. But if Highland Babe Ruth asks for facilities, softball field, middle school field, elementary school softball field, or the high school baseball field, there might be just one group that comes out that given night for practice.
15 people, right?
Are we requesting them to have a safety person there?
The person leading that would become the safety person, right? So whoever's bringing there will be aware of the rules.
Well, I think every organization that goes through the building use form is going to have some lead people at that outing. Let it be individual practices for soccer, football, or baseball, or basketball, or a group setting.
And again, that can be an administrative discretion at that point. If you feel what you're talking about, I mean, ultimately, who approves these, right? Who approves use of the facility?
It goes through the director of facility.
So if the director of facility feels that the person applying is well versed in the safe of the use of the facilities, as well as the safety protocol, and
that has never been part of the requirement. I do not evaluate people's competences when they do a building.
So
a lot of building use requests are done by people that are not.
So when do you reject them?
Be there.
See, that's my
Is it hard to add a layer that, if I'm signing it up, but I just have to name the point of contact for the event so that
person supervisor.
The directors of, let's just say Babe Ruth, the director, the president of Babe Ruth is putting in to school
for everybody.
Correct. And then another person that could be, somebody else is going to go and coach that team at the middle school or out here on a softball field.
Well, and that's probably not as big a problem as the fact that we've tried over the last number of years making sure that the coaches are putting their own stuff in, because 3 years ago, 90% of the building use requests had Frank Alfonso on it. Okay?
Yeah.
And
that's how it was for me with Girl Scouts. Someone was doing it, even though it was for my troop. So I don't know if there's a layer to add that someone can go and kind of do this, but for Tuesday nights, this is the point. I don't know. I don't know what kind of headache that is.
And that was a request that I asked 2 years ago. I asked for who all the leaders were for these troops, because we did not know who was coming and who wasn't.
Correct.
The authority.
If one person's putting them in for all the troops, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the exposure that we're trying to mitigate somewhat sounds like we're looking to have a safety officer at every event.
I don't want to call
Or some point person
I think we should.
that could be contacted if there is an issue.
If we empower someone to be accountable, they might be more likely to really police what they're doing if they know they're going to be held accountable for what's gone wrong. Or
maybe some dialogue with these groups to see if that's feasible. Like,
the majority of awards and litigation comes through negligence. So what we have to do is make sure that we're not negligent. Are we negligent in, well, I think Pete does his best to make sure the facilities we're not negligent in terms of their care or, trip hazards, anything that's a known hazard. Then we have to make, from our end, we have to make sure that the people running the event aren't negligent in their supervision in how they utilize the
I think some of the concerns also are that we are right now at this period of time, and you might not feel this way, a high risk district. We're just coming off, so all the fire people around accidents happen, but this cord created quite a headache at our middle school and a much bigger liability than we would have ever anticipated replacing all this stuff. And some of us don't feel good about being in the high risk district category. I'm just going to put it out there. That's some of the things that I've heard in the community.
That could be something that could be added to that building use form. Simple thing. But how do we govern a baseball team coming out here and kid goes up to bat without a helmet on, gets hit in the head?
That's not gonna come back at us because that's not.
That's negligence on our part because we're not monitoring that.
No.
I mean, we're going to open up a big can here.
I don't know if it's feasible, and
different.
if it causes additional liability, I'm backing away a lot.
I just think that historically,
That's why our attorneys, we have decent attorneys, they'd be able to say, no, that has nothing to do with it.
We haven't had.
It's true. If I was to, hot dogs aside, if I was to ask from last year,
Okay.
you said hot dogs.
Yeah.
I like hot dogs. Hot dogs aside, if I asked for the accident reports that came in the PM for the entire last year, probably less than a handful. I don't know if there's any. Right? I mean, if there's an accident in our building, we have to produce an accident report. I mean, somebody gets hurt, right? Accidents happen. People get up and they walk through. But if there's a true accident that belongs in the level of liability insurance, I haven't heard of one.
Well, but
I haven't heard of one.
Desmond is doing his job by informing us.
In the PM facilities use arena. During the day, people fall, a kid breaks his arm getting off of the bus. We know that's documented. We know that's not the time frame we're talking about.
But it's significant enough that we're being requested, the insurance companies are requesting a certain amount, right?
Of course.
So what we're saying as a board is we're willing to assume part of that risk, but what I'm saying is that we need to, if we're going to assume a portion of that risk that their actuaries are saying we are at risk for, if we're going to do that, we have to have some mechanism of mitigating. And that's all I'm humbly suggesting, that we create a more formalized method of making people aware of what they're responsible for, what we are vulnerable for, and by waiving certain insurance policies or requirements on their behalf, that these are the expectations we're setting up, saying this is what you have to do. You have to watch the children. You have to make sure they're performing safely. You have to be adhering to district policies.
And if not, you risk the use in future.
Everybody, because again, we ruined it for everybody, right?
We just, at the same time as we know what the football facility is, that multi-use field, we built a concession stand, and we spent a couple of meetings talking about who's going to be serving food out of that concession stand. And we finally came to an agreement that they're either going to, because you got your county health department that's supposed to monitor this stuff, that they're going to have either a trained individual from whatever group or organization that is, to run that facility. The other option is to have a paid district employee at the concession stand, somebody that knows what the regulations are and the cooking temperatures and the presentation of food at that temperature. That it's not hard to think that the scenario I brought up, because I've seen it several times with people at these indoor events, they're serving stuff off a table. It's not meeting any, probably it passes no county health department regulation that they're holding us hostage on out of that concession stand. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. They need to have the documentation. I don't see where it's a problem. If that paperwork gets signed off and you have two different shifts of custodial people, why can't that person, because a lot of times they are monitoring, walking around, maybe mopping up spills, water and whatever else, that they have a list that says no this, no that, and somebody officially signs off on that.
Well,
that's their
but I don't think it's fair.
I don't think it's in their job.
No,
That's not in their job
it's not, but
responsibility.
somebody's got to take ownership.
We can be here for hours, but I think the initial comment that was generated from the beginning was that we're looking to, and this is coming from our last board meeting on July 1, we're looking to see if we're going to waive the requirement of $3 million that NYSER has put on organizations that are using school facilities. I think moving that forward, then maybe we develop guidelines or however you want to incorporate it into that facility's use form. Resurrect that or bring that up this week and take a look at it and see if you want to add something. We could shoot an email to the superintendent. We're going to put this onto that form. But I think in the meantime, we have youth football that's going to start practice or has already started practice and want to utilize that field for their games, which would be probably in September, I would think. So it's less than 3 or 4 weeks away.
So how my point in
It's
this
usually
is,
after Labor Day, right?
is to say we don't just say we waive, we don't waive. We say this is the $3 million, the policy that we require. Should you like us to waive that, these are the requirements you have to meet. So in other words, rather than financial requirements, we require a greater amount of supervision, a greater amount of responsibility. And in exchange for that, the district will waive our requirements for that $3 million policy. It's just to mitigate our vulnerability, it's just saying,
I don't know what a group's response is to that,
I'd say,
what restrictions do we want to put on them?
Well, only ones that help us to not be as vulnerable as the actuaries seem to think we would be.
I think we have guidelines for use of the turf field. I think there's no Gatorade, there's no this, there's no that, there's no, you have the police after the games and all that good stuff.
Our insurance.
I don't know what other restrictions we could put on any organization.
While it's been an ongoing conversation, I will tell you, I have not read the forms online. I probably haven't done a read of the policy in quite some time, though I understand the concern. Maybe we start there. Let's refresh that and bring that back. That's all. Because it doesn't look like we're gaining ground here. There's no automatic yeses. The board seems like they have a few concerns.
What is our response? Yes, go ahead.
I think if it's the practices and things like that, I think everything's going to work itself out. But when football has their event next Friday, you're going to have a couple hundred people here. If youth football is going to be playing their games on Saturday, on the Sundays, they're probably going to have 300-400 people here. I really believe that there should be somebody from the school district here at those events. A paid employee should be here at those events because of the amount of people who are going to be here.
Right.
But for a soccer practice or a Girl Scout, it's within that scope. I don't think there's a need for that.
Right.
But if you're going to have 3 football games with people coming and going from other communities, and we're just going to leave it up to that,
you're going to fill that
group
back lot
to monitor that whole building, even though it's all outside, I think you're asking a lot.
The youth football and cheer currently has 112 children
participants
participating. That's divided by, again, cheer, I think it's 33. The rest are football, divided by 3 teams, right? You have Mighty Mites D1, D2. I've discussed it with Elliot. I've discussed it with Everett, just because I come here. So I'm very aware of your concerns. We have granted, we're more direct than other people managing things, but you screw up, then you're ruining it for all of us. So we have every intention on lecturing, and I hate to use that word, lecturing parents, because some of them do need lecturing, right? It's not a free for all. You can't, you're not tailgating in our parking lot. You're not doing, you know what I mean? Silly things that you don't think that you have to mention. So our families, we are going to speak to about using the turf, and we feel like we have a good handle on that. From other personal things, I think if it's outdoors, I think obviously it's when it's indoors. So when you have your indoor clinics, what I've seen personally, it's not so much even really your players, it's the siblings that are not occupied that are getting into mischief. So I think that that's something that may be important to address, supervision, and of the siblings that are, and you can't help it, right? Not everybody can find a babysitter or whatever the situation may be, but that's where I've even noticed like, who's watching that kid? I've seen things like that personally. Again, the indoor, and even with basketball, and Frank knows I've had to talk with him. I'm constantly wrangling in the siblings that are fooling around in the foyer, and I'm kicking them out just because, you know, I feel like that's my responsibility while I'm there. So I do that. The other thing that I think would be really beneficial is you kind of know your core groups of your sports, your community sports, youth, things like that. Invite them to a meeting, even if it's just a board meeting, and say, like, listen, these are our rules, these are our expectations, like this is our baby, right? It's brand new, it's turf, and not just for the turf field, but you know, please respect our guidelines, respect our rules. And I think that they would just be so thrilled that it's finally not jumping through hoops to be able to use the facility, that they will hopefully be respectful of it. But that is, I think, inviting them to something, your leaders on all of those you know, core groups would be helpful too, and maybe put your mind at ease and really let them know what you're thinking.
I mean, back in the day with Pop Warner, when I was involved with Pop Warner, I mean, you were there all day.
Yeah.
You were at Tony Williams all day. So if you were a coach or you were a spouse of a coach, you were there from the earliest to the end, and you were doing those things, right? Like, you were part of that organization. You were doing the things that you were saying. And I think as community members that grow, that's what naturally happens, because this is what we're full of pride about, is our facilities and what we are able to do both inside and out. So I think those things happen where you have people who are there all day making sure things are going well, picking up garbage. You see someone left a gator, you're picking it up, putting it in the garbage. Those are the things that you do. So I do think that that's a good point, is maybe that's what we should do, is invite these groups in and to be able to talk through, you know, some of our...
Once you have a policy, it is natural to invite groups in so you could explain why the policy ended up that way and why the procedure's that way.
But on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays, if Babe Ruth is using the facility indoors, or if the town is using the facility on Saturdays for basketball, there's always a custodian on duty.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is the point person for that group. So if Babe Ruth is using the high school gym in the month of February and March for clinics, there's a custodian here, and the people who from Babe Ruth know who that person is that day. It might rotate from one week to the other. And it's the same thing with Saturday Rec, which you dealt with last year, not dealt with, but was involved with, where there's a different person there, but they always came in the morning, made sure if you need anything, and then we monitored the group.
They're a
of people
point
who
of
were there.
contact. But you mentioned something else in these large group events. You mentioned supervision. What does that look like?
It wouldn't be necessary. The supervision is the group, but there's got to be somebody, a point person here on site.
Right.
In my opinion, because you already have that now. Any Saturday event that's inside the building, there is a custodian on duty, whether it be.
So what's different about that and this big Pop Warner Invitational with?
There is well, in the past, when I can't speak of, I apologize, I'm not as involved in this year's, but in the past, there was custodial staff here who were on site.
I always see Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick has been at every single event in the past that I've been at where we've done these.
He'd be on duty at that time. And
yeah.
He could definitely be on duty. Because no one's really ever allowed in the building with a group unless there is a staff member here. Correct?
Correct.
On a weekend.
Correct.
And the reason during the week the building's open and the custodian staff or somebody's here to say 10 o'clock at night, so the groups can go to 9:30, whatever it might be. And then it's the same thing when the men's go play basketball on Thursday nights for the league. They know when they get there, whoever's the point person at the building, they connect. I put that in school, but I'm not there. But I have a director of that league that we communicate with. And if there's a snow day, the school's not open, they're not going, it's closed. Exactly. So somebody is always there.
Yeah. So I like that event in particular, I could tell you that there has always been a custodian on site when we did that event.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to what you had said before, is on your Sundays when Pop Warner, like, it's outside. So there wouldn't be a custodian or someone here.
They're gonna be inside a concession stand using the concession stand.
Right, so that's the question I think that Mike was trying to bring up is now what? Because this is a new venture. So
I mean, they would want the bathrooms open,
well,
whether
yeah.
it be the concession stand
Yeah, not
or the ones by the boys' locker room, and then the concession stand. So the
By having the bathrooms open, that requires a custodian? Is that what you do at Tony Williams? That's a public park.
I have the field views what we did for our turf field. Let me try to find it.
Look, they're always open. What?
This is the draft. I'm not sure if this is the final one, but we covered. Let me just back up. Prior to NYSER asking for $3 million. Prior to that, which is probably the last 3 or 4 years, maybe whatever. Prior to that, it was $2 million. Every organization in the community utilized all our facilities, day and night, weekends, 12 months out of the year. And I've been involved in quite a few of them. I don't ever recall any situation where the place wasn't clean or whatever. If it was addressed. And if it happens again, you lose your privilege. I don't know why we're trying to reinvent the wheel here, because we're waiving, and you're right. I mean, we have to do our due diligence, but we're going to waive the requirement of insurance from $2 million to $3 million.
$3 million to $2 million.
$3 million to $2 million. Our turf field, practice field, has been utilized for 5 years now, 6 years prior to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Have we had any situation there? And every youth group has utilized that facility.
when they were there, after school, they would have availability to bathrooms.
No. Was it misused? Was there issues where they left?
There was conversation.
bottle
There might have
all
been conversations from me or Pete to
and
that club.
it was dealt with.
And it was
All
dealt
of that
with.
is in the realm of routine, though.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
We
I
have had
agree.
actions
Right.
against the district involving supervision that, again, and these were school sanctioned events that we had issues come up with litigation and supervision. And I think that's, I'm not saying, I agree entirely with what you're saying, but I think it doesn't hurt for us to have an eye on, how.
Yet even with that great track record, we're a high risk school.
Absolutely. I mean, anything.
At the end of the day,
can happen. Absolutely. But I think we put rules and regs in place for the use of the turf field, as far as the concession stand, the field itself. That's all there. That's all out there. I think it went to Pop Warner. They have it, so they know what to do when they're utilizing the field. Going back to the conversation when we first started, is to kind of put in place how we're going to move forward with this insurance requirement. And are we going to allow Highland United football? I think that's what they go under.
No, it's U.S. youth football, right?
USA football.
USA football.
USA football.
Youth football.
To
Insurance
utilize the
covered.
facility for their games starting in September, I believe it is.
But my question is, again, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be the stumbling block, but I just want to make people aware of, if they're going to be there on a Sunday and they're going to have access to the bathrooms, they're going to have access to the concession stand, they're going to ask for access to the press box. So we're going to open up 3 things, and we're not going to worry about, we're going to put that all on that group to monitor it with nobody on staff from Highland Central School District, with 600-700 people coming and going. I mean, that's
Very good question.
That's where I'm at, because
To me, that's more important than the insurance, is the actual supervision for that event.
If
The
you
district's
recall,
represented.
during one of the meetings, I had said in the district to the south, it took a couple years to get to the model that you now see. It was, it's not about football. Football would be the first group, but as soon as they're aware, they all
Right.
line up.
And
And
I don't-
are we prepared
and I don't
manage.
recall everything, but I'm gonna read this. A custodian must be on duty while the main turf field is in use. That's part of our regulation. The district requires a responsible person to supervise such activity at all times the group is on site. Proof
Who's
of
that?
insurance,
I want that one identified.
From them,
From them.
not
Yeah,
from
that's,
the
that's what I'm
district.
talking
We're
about.
putting a custodian on
But when
site.
I
So
call
that
a safety
person
officer-
signing up is the responsible person, or do we need another?
See, I want
They
that
might not
person
even be there
identified.
though, I heard this evening. But they're still the responsible person.
They're gonna pay for the custodian because we have that use fee, the custodial use fee that we
Understood.
do on reorg.
Right.
Now, when I say a safety officer, that's the person, but I want that person identified and I want the custodian to know who that person is. And that person has to be on site. You know, I'm saying, rather than saying, like you were saying, Janine, if somebody signs up for it and then,
But I
but
guess-
they're not the one there.
I guess we have to identify, are we doing that for a large function like that, or are we gonna do that for when Babe Ruth comes and uses the softball
It
field
sounds
for practice,
like-
when they have
Point.
10
It
girls
sounds
and
like
2
the
coaches?
staff is comfortable with the smaller group running with the coach or whomever's leading up that activity, 15, 20 people. You might come out with a threshold. But the 200 player, 1,600 parent support group that's gonna be here may need some additional
Right, and
supervision.
But for
here.
example, with
It's
the
in
10,
It's in here.
with the 10 students or the 10 athletes that come out, obviously there's going to be one point person who's bringing them, and that person is already established, and they know there'll be no. It's not like there's an extra hoop to jump through. It's just that person's known and recognized.
So, I mean, how difficult is it in the
And I
full-
do, I'm gonna say this, you're gonna go in a minute. But I do have to leave at 7:30 because we have an even appointment. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
All right.
I was hoping I'd be out here.
Janine, I'm
No,
sorry.
I gotta keep the discussion.
The only so my how difficult is it? Like you said, you were always Pete said that it always said Frank Alfonso on everything, right? So it's possible you're signing up, but how difficult is it to add a second line that says the responsible party of that event is Janine Gemmel? Is that hard to add to that? I mean, I would like. Doesn't
No,
that
I
then?
think that's the kind of
And who will
revision
be
Al
on-
was
who will
asking
be on
for.
site, yeah.
Then
I
that's.
think that's fair, because
I
then
think
you
that's fair.
streamline the permissions that Pete
Yeah,
is
it's already-
getting.
it's already
52
there.
people
It's just
reaching out,
saying-
one person can streamline. You just have to know.
I'll give you, I'll take it to Saturday Rec. Like I said, I put in Saturday Recreation. I'm the director. Goes for 10 weeks. I'll stop in and stop out, but I'm not there the whole day. But I'm there enough to know that who's ever the representative from the school district knows who the representative is that day, and they do
Cell
communicate
phone should
on
be
a daily
communicated.
basis.
That's what I want,
so
because that
that's
speaks to,
all. I
like you
think
said, the
that's
person
fair.
signing up for the event may not even be
just
on
add-
site.
Right.
So the
Contact
person
this
needs to be
person
known.
with
Yeah.
number.
That's. I mean, I feel like that's an easy adjustment.
It's not a big hoop to jump
It's
through.
easy till it's not easy. It's some,
No, but
the
as
mess.
Al pointed out, there's a space on it for the form, but it's just setting up what is our protocol? What is
And
that person?
Maybe
gonna
that
look
field could be
Right.
called safety
Right.
liaison.
The main turf field already has its set of rules and regulations that have been implemented. We all discussed it, we approved it, and it's gone to those groups. But the first issue is the insurance piece. I mean, we don't make the decision tonight. We gotta make it on
I
our
wanna
next
wait.
meeting, otherwise they can't play, and they're gonna have to tell their traveling teams that they can't come to Highland, they gotta go to Tony
Yeah.
Williams.
Things may be
I'm all
delayed.
in favor of waiving it and bringing it down, but with the assurance that we have responsible people.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
in for the turf
So-
field. That's in for the main turf field.
And that's what Pop Warner's using is the turf field.
I guess the next conversation, not this evening, but what are we doing for the other facilities? What are we doing for the middle school gym? The elementary school gym and the library and the cafeteria that hosts maybe Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, whatever other group that comes in.
Well,
Do we still have baton?
it sounds like you're gonna take a tiered approach like some of these other districts. So we should start drafting a policy revision.
And we should also have area protocol for whatever area they're asking to use. What are our expectations? What are the safety procedures? In the middle school gym is going to have a different set of rules than the elementary school library, than the high school media center.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to require it's going to be an ongoing thing, right? That we're going to have to develop. I think we found some goals for us.
A lot of times, the issue isn't necessarily with your local people. It's when you have tournaments and stuff like that. People come in, we've all seen it, where the guests, as they are, aren't acting appropriately, or they don't care. Nobody watches their kids. Talked about that.
Yeah, we could, I mean, I think we
they're all
can
free-range
identify
kids
every
when it gets
situation
somewhere.
possible, but how do you police all that?
But if we've shown that we've made an effort,
Put
then we're not
something in
negligent,
on
right?
paper, but it's difficult to police.
Of course
No,
it is.
but
But
in actuality, but
everybody's liability, everything's liability driven.
the liability is
And
driven
you're
by
looking
negligence. And if we
for
can show
money.
we made an effort, we're not
If I may
negligent.
just jump in for a quick second. I know
Please.
we've got time to go, but
No.
what I'm hearing is that you're just going to add another layer, kind of another level of somebody who's responsible. I do triathlons, or I do any other sport. Who's the contact person? It's my wife. You have to have that emergency person. So why not have that same concept on what we're doing here? You have somebody signing up for it, but who's the emergency contact person on that day if something should occur? You're not telling them you want it to occur, but who should I contact if something should occur? And that should be a name and a person who's going to be there. That's a very
fair
simple
ask.
one. That's a very fair ask. It's not a heavy lift. The second thing is what I'm considering to be a building chaperone. It's not the custodial staff, because the custodial staff have got their job. They've got to clean the bathrooms. They've got other things to do, pick up stuff from the Gatorade. I get it. And that's not part of their job requirement. If you're adding in a building chaperone, we add that back into the cost of renting the space. It would have to be a person who then is vetted on our rules and guidelines, who does walk around on the day when there's the anniversary of the 75 years, and they come in and go, okay, great, class of 75. And they come in and go, great, there's a wire. You cannot have that. They have the responsibility and the authority to say, stop, or they'll say, we've recognized it and we'll now bring it back to central office where you will be penalized or you will not have this facility again. You have that person being a building chaperone, but it would have to be people that we kind of rotate or know the rules. Once again, that cost, just like the custodial cost, gets added in. And the rest of it is in terms of mitigating the insurance you want to do, that's fine, but what's the number you want to come up with? If it's 3 million and you're willing to take 2, that's great. If it's 3 million, you're willing to take 1, where's that slippery slope end when you say, okay, somebody comes in and says, I don't have it, will you willing to waive it? So eventually you have to come to a point where that 3 million lies, and NYSER, they're going to say, wait a minute, because you only asked for 2 million, that's what we could get from the organization. We will not have to pick up that other million if something should occur. And the very last point to Mike's question he asked earlier, 5 years ago, roughly, give or take 4 or 5 years ago, was the last major issue we had in the district when one of the students was part of the cheer organization.
That's right, library.
In the library, and that person fell. In between that gap, there has not been any major issue that has happened. Your biggest liability is because of once the fire, which I hate to say, but other events that occurred that are not related to facilities use. It just seems though, or it just happens to be, that facilities use is taking the burden of that because of the things we've had in the past. And those things, we're not going to put them out in public, but we know what they are.
Right.
Those are the issues I just wanted to bring up, so we can get out of here at 7:30.
3 minutes.
I'm done.
That's just, I have to go. You can absolutely continue.
No, I think we're all, I think we beat it tonight, but I think we understand.
How do you want to move this forward?
What's the deadline for this? Was this about to
I
be
mean, I
done?
would like to be able to give, Pop Warner's the most immediate need I would like to be able to give them a decision. I mean, it sounded like we were all in agreement with, making the allowance for the insurance that they have. We know that they all sign a waiver, so.
Waivers are dubious too, though.
Everything's
You
gonna
can't,
be
you
different.
can't sign your waiver.
I just got the feeling that when we left our general meeting on July 1, that the consensus, I
That
mean,
was
this
a consensus.
dialogue really took off tonight and it wasn't there back on July 1. That's what kind of got me
Well, I think we did
thinking
touch
of
on
what are we doing?
We did touch on the issue of supervision on July 1 and being responsible. That was basically where we were most vulnerable. And I think that's, and as we transition, I think this definitely should be one of our board goals, is to analyze each of the properties and each of the facilities that we'll be using and what the requirements for safe utilization will be. But in this particular case, we can maybe address this on a personal level. What is it we need from this group? If we're going to reduce the insurance requirements, what do we require for them so that they're conducting their activities safely and without putting the district at risk?
That's one piece of it. I think when I started the conversation of this insurance requirement throughout percentage of participation and signing a waiver, those were the three things that was in my mind that maybe we can incorporate, that every organization's got to do that. Does that signing that waiver give us another layer of protection? I don't know in a legal court. I don't know if it does or not, but it's something that we could.
Right. I mean,
I think it's good.
It's a layer.
USA football, I think, does that throughout the whole country. They sign that waiver. That's part of their organization's requirement for their student parents to sign that waiver.
The universal waiver is great. It is, because a good lawyer can use it, a bad one.
Let's be realistic.
What do you need to move forward? I don't know what a resolution sounds like. I got no draft policy in front of me. I understand it's football.
There is a policy we all agreed on.
For the utilization of the field, but not for the insurance requirement.
Right. But I mean, a lot of the things that are being brought up, that you brought up, are in there. So I feel like our wires are getting crossed here based on what we're trying to make a decision on.
Is that the draft policy you have in front of you?
I think this.
I didn't see a draft policy. That's all I'm saying.
We already agreed on this like months ago.
But this is the one that we had discussion and we adopted 3-4 months ago. 3 months ago.
It talks about insurance though.
So
no, it doesn't talk about insurance. It doesn't speak about insurance.
Right. I think
no, this is the legitimate use policy. But what we're saying, if we're going to reduce the insurance requirements, what further assurance do we need in order to take that responsibility?
I have the community use of facilities policy. Is that kind of being mingled in with the turf field one? Do you want to see this into that?
If somebody says a resolution, I may support it. What does that sound like? Like if you're looking for a decision tonight,
I mean, this one says
I need to hear
on it.
what that sounds like.
I feel like we're mixing some stuff in there.
Right. I mean, you're asking the board to approve something this evening. What are you looking to approve? What are those terms? They usually start with "be it resolved." The Board of Education upon the superintendent of schools. I don't think we're going to have a recommendation. I don't think we're going to have a recommendation of the superintendent of schools on this one. Is this a recommendation that comes? I don't know.
If we put together a resolution, we have to have that vetted by legal.
When it comes to this, I would.
So are we voting on a policy, or can we vote in the interest of time for this event while we still finalize what our policy is, or are we just opening up a can of worms and setting ourselves up for? Because I know there's time involved.
We're talking about Pop Warner. When's Pop Warner's first game?
I'm texting, I'm gonna text Everett now, because our calendar in our app has not gone past, I think.
It'll be the second week in September.
It should be September 7th. It should be September 7th, right? It's
so we usually have 3 or 4
the Sunday after Labor Day.
Correct.
Yeah, we have 4 home games, I just don't know when the first one is.
But we have a meeting on the 19th.
So those rates are established there was something written, but that came from NYSER.
It comes from NYSER, right? We have the rates
So
established.
there's no set policy then.
There, on our website, we actually have those rates. That's part of, yes, on our website, we have that as part of our policy, that when you want to rent the facility, those requirements are there.
The building use
The
online.
building use should have,
This one talks about liability insurance with numbers and stuff online. It's not.
this is your Highland
It's
district.
not that.
What's the number of that policy?
That's
When
not
you
a
say
policy. those are-
number,
Yes, so this came from 2023.
Yes, you do.
Was this approved? I don't think.
It was never, it's not on the board approval, it's not something.
So this doesn't have to be board
It
approved.
doesn't have to be board
So then
approved.
I don't understand why the board can't just say that we would like to amend D, organized athletic leagues. We could do that right now. If everyone's in agreement. Because this isn't a policy, this is
Building
a
use
practice.
It's requirements, right, it's just, it's not a policy.
But there had to have been, at some point, somebody approved
Guidelines.
these dollar figures.
Well, those are rates that are just plug generated probably.
Not by the district, not by the board, but
these
by
are
NYSER.
guidelines from NYSER.
NYSER.
It's contradictory.
Guidelines being the operative word.
Yes.
Okay.
So what would they be, they would be adjusting this?
You would make a recommendation to, I think it's the one that talks about athletics, the organizations, which is 3 million, to
2 million.
2 million.
What is the 70%?
Right here.
Yeah, no, I know that, but this is contradicting. So we
With no exclusions for athletic participants.
with no exclusions.
You're gonna speak to this, because I don't, I haven't been on the phone with NYSER like you have. What does that no exclusions mean?
Which, where are you looking at the no exclusion?
To the
Athletic
2 million on
events.
the front page there, in
So-
bold letters.
They break it down into two components. One is the general commercial liability insurance that we're looking for, and in addition, they're looking for the excess insurance. So we're asking for two components. I will ask them to give more clarity on that, to get back to you on that. Why does it say product, you said 2 million for products and completion options with exclusion of athletics? I'll ask for clarity, but they break it down, as far as I understood, into two parts. One is the general liability,
Oh, I see, yeah.
and one is your excess liability. And even on the insurance forms that we have from multiple organizations, there are two components: general liability and excess liability. You have to have those two components. The general liability just says this is in general what happens. The excess kind of goes over the top if there's other situations. And then when they say excluding athletics, they have this in the excess, there's specific items that they're talking about. So
Contact sports would most likely garner that higher rate.
go into higher rate. So you're gonna get general liability for basic items, but then they want the
Badminton
excess
wouldn't be.
to have that, to exclude it for the other kind of contact sports. But as I said before, I will give you clarity to the board as to what that line
So
means.
we don't know if football has 2 million, 1 million.
If two,
Like,
Just
like
one category?
For municipalities,
for,
I mean, for the town, it's 2 million, 1 million. You have that 2 million, I think that 1 million follows it.
is this
for
youth,
excess.
just Highland Youth Football and Cheer?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got them listed as, in the general commercial liability, they meet the criteria of 1 million. In the aggregate, they meet the 2 million. They're in the product and completion and operation, that's 2 million, they meet that. The only thing that was of an issue was in the umbrella and excess insurance, which had those two components. They have 2 million and we're asking for 3. That is the issue at hand. That is the crux. Everything else, I would say, is up to par. We have everything else from them. That is the issue. 3 million versus 2.
That we're asking for.
Can we make a movement to
You
have
said 2 million and then excess of 1 million, or no?
No, I said aggregate. I didn't say anything excess. I said the only thing they have was in the excess and umbrella under organized athletic leagues. It's 3 million. They have 2 million.
Can we make a
So
resolution?
general,
to
they
an
have
exception?
2 and then excess.
General, they have 2. In general, they have 1 and 2. 1 is per occurrence, 2 in the aggregate. and they meet all of the other requirements that we have. They're meeting all of the recommendations that NYSER has said they should meet, with that one exception being the excess slash.
So their
umbrella.
excess is 2 million, NYSER wants 3.
Right.
But they have, and as an aggregate, they have 2 general with 1 million excess. So an aggregate of 3, but then with the additional, they only have 2?
So they, I'll repeat, in per occurrence, they have 1, and in the aggregate, they have 2.
2, okay.
Yeah, under the umbrella and excess, they have 2.
So they have 1
In the
in the general
per occurrence,
per occurrence, they have 1 with excess of 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the umbrella, they only have 2.
When they would need 3. Can we make a specific, just to expedite this for this evening and to continue analyzing this down the line, can we make a group-specific exception right now as a board, just that we resolve to accept what they currently have in this one instant? And then we can.
That's what I was suggesting.
Yeah.
I mean, based on
This pending further.
on the building use form, we don't approve that. We don't really have a resolution to approve that each and every year, because if it changes, I don't think we've ever approved the building use form. Maybe 20 years ago, I don't recall approving a building use form. So we don't need a resolution to make that amendment.
I didn't see that when I came on board to see if this was something the board approved.
Right.
It is part of our requirements or recommendations from NYSER that we put forth, but I don't think you've ever had a board where you said, I approve these rates. Once again, these are the requirements. If we don't follow them to some degree, NYSER then increases our rates, which they've done. But you have the option to say, we will accept 2 over the 3. At that point, when I present this to NYSER for review, I would say the district will accept 2 rather than 3. They will say, okay, just know that you have that $1 million liability out there, and then they say, go forth.
And then the rates will.
But in essence, they have 3 million. You have your general liability and you have your umbrella.
Yeah.
Their umbrella is 2, NYSER wants 3. They have.
I know, I think NYSER, our response would be after significant vetting and analysis of this particular situation, we are willing to accept $2 million, and that's how we're. But I think we make it specific rather than blanket.
We can make it specific to USA football. That was USA football.
That we're
And
giving.
then based
Basically,
on-
we have to give him the
On the
authorization
other
to say.
groups, there's been, Babe Ruth had an issue back in the spring to utilize indoor facility. They were able to pick that 3 million up.
They came through.
We don't know what the additional cost to
We
that.
don't know what the cost is, but they originally came through with 2 million as the excess, and there was back and forth emails, lots of emails going back and forth, and pushback, but eventually they moved it through.
So what I would expect that if you do this now, all of the others are going to ask for that exception as well.
Right, yeah, exactly what's gonna happen.
And so as long as you're willing to,
Well, that's why I wanted to have a counterbalance to that,
Well, let's
Make sure that we-
treat them individually. Right now, that's presented to us.
I'm assuming
In the
that-
spring, it's going to be baseball and softball. In the spring, it's going to be lacrosse. Now in the fall, it should be football and soccer. So soccer's got to present theirs.
I mean, has this
so should we do a
historically-
resolution each time a new sport comes in, or?
I don't know if you're starting something new, you're starting a whole new process of
Well,
putting a resolution forward. You could have a resolution to review this and approve the insurance that we want. That could be one resolution. It really is just up to the district, and when NYSER says up to the district, it's finance saying, yes, we'll accept that, 2 over 3. Personally, I think that, that's great. We're asking for 3 and they have 2 and we're kind of making that concession. That's great. If we start making it, we need 3 and I only have 1.
Right.
This is where it becomes a little gray. Once again, it could be okay with 2 because we can work with the organization. And then we add in that layer of responsibility. Then we add in that layer of we've given you this, we've accepted less, we need a little bit more assurance of things going on.
Well, the reason I make that now the statement about this exception now is because from what I'm hearing anecdotally and from people who know this organization is that they're responsible. They have people who actually police their own and take into consideration the good standing of the district, and they try to be responsible. And if that's what I'm being told, I have two people who are familiar with the organization who say that they do that, and that's the only reason I'm willing to make this exception on this instance.
You also, just coming back to the point, you know, once again, talking about accidents, something catastrophic happening, somebody getting hurt. Besides that one incident, you've had a pretty good track record of, knock on wood.
But I also just want to reiterate the fact that USA Football and USA Lacrosse, which are national organizations, are asking for the $2 million. So while we're making an allowance, there's national organizations that are accepting this across the United States.
Yes.
So that's why going down to 2 versus going to 1 is because there's national organizations for these 2 youth sports that say 2 is what they need to have, right? So that's why, as a board, if we make the allowance, that's why we're making the allowance.
Right, and you're to your point, this is something accepted nationally. This is what is accepted nationally. It just seems that nicer, not just for this school district, but for all other school districts, is putting that limit on there. So you have that leverage to say, you know, this is what we want to do. But once again, it's just a conversation or some type of directive to say, we're okay with this, and it doesn't have to be a full resolution. I'm not sure where you want to go with that. It's up to the board.
I'll agree to accept what their current certificate of insurance states and let our business official present that to NYSERD.
Given what we've said here today, and for those reasons that, you know, the nationally accepted rate of insurance, the behavior and what people say they know is the known behavior of responsibility in this group, I'm willing for this instance, yeah.
Jen?
Yes, I agree. If what we're approving right now is for USA Football, based on their nationally accepted insurance standards, you have my vote.
I also agree with that.
What did you just say, Judy?
I said I agree with that. Going with the US, yeah.
Then this one instance, because of
The national coverage, that's the biggest piece.
I could consider this as a one-off at this moment in time and go with it.
That's all, yeah, that's what we're talking about.
And this is the board saying this, Joel, not you. So this is definitely the board's
We're
responsibility.
approving USA
No,
Football.
this is, no, this is, I'm saying, so
It's
you know.
not a resolution, you guys are gonna
Right,
make
exactly,
a
yeah,
directive.
yeah.
Correct.
So I think we're giving the go-ahead as the board to say that you have.
Okay.
Okay.
And on the, certificate of liability insurance here, we're listed as, I mean, I know you guys keep saying the USA Football, but it's Highland Youth Football.
It's
here.
Yes.
So I just wanted to clarify just in case.
I have it as Highland Youth Football. I'm
It's Highland
just waiting for the, yes, you can go ahead and do it.
I know the policy.
We're required to be registered as USA
So
Lacrosse.
we had to.
Everett, I mean, the other two gentlemen that were here.
That's what I'm saying.
We could.
It's Highland Park Warner, but it's Highland Park Warner under the USA Football insurance cover, right? I believe.
Desmond has the insurance form
I
that
have
he
the-
submitted,
the-
so.
I'm
it
going
has to
back
go
like
by what's-
6 years of
Gotta
memory
go by
on
what's
this.
on that form.
You have
Yeah.
a motion?
Yeah.
We good? Should we make a motion to close out?
Yeah, anything for good and welfare of the district under
I think
miscellaneous.
that was for the good welfare of the district, so.
Open the meeting up to public comment. Close the public comment and motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you, guys.
Ed and Janine. All those in favor?
Aye.
5,
Who was it?
only 5.
Me
Ed
and
and
Tom.
Janine.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought.
Tom and I are off.
So. I thought I saw the form out.
Looks like things are showing.
Frank?